Welcome back to Quran 101. This is part 4, How We Interpret the Quran, episode 4. This will be the final episode, not only of this part, but of the entire series. Let me just take the time before I start to say thank you for watching these videos. If you like them, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the video, and share with your friends and your loved ones. So to round off not only this part, but the entire series, there are just a few more things that I would like to share. When we come to interpret the Quran, do the tafsir of the Quran to understand its meaning, so on and so forth, one of the things that we look for are first principles. Now, if you are familiar with any of my work on the Making Sense of Islam platform, you're probably sick of hearing me talk about first principles because I talk about it all the time. I reference again the Muslim Mind course that I put together on the platform, which basically takes this concept of first principles and explains it. But the Quran has all of these, you can think of them as like one-liners. I mean, they're not one-liners, but they're principles. The verse or part of, no soul bears the burden of another. God is merciful and compassionate. So on and so on. And that you forgive is closer to being God consciousness. All of these verses or partial verses appear in larger discussions, but you can take them out and they stand alone as their own principles. And that's very important because when we read the Quran over and over and over again, we want to emerge with this list of Quranic principles. These are principles that we're going to use not only to interpret the Quran, but we're going to use these principles to interpret other Islamic disciplines like the hadith studies, the theology, the legal stuff, so on and so forth. And most importantly, we're going to use these principles in our lives as daily, principles and statements of truths and aphorisms and wisdoms and axioms that we use to conduct our lives in the best way possible. So looking for those first principles is really, really essential. Another framework that we use or another lens that we use through which we look to the Quran is to look at what the meta goals of the Quran is. What is the message of the Quran at the highest level? Of course, there's the message of worship, there's the message of self-purification, there's the message of working in communion with our neighbors and other people of other faiths and races and persuasions, etc., to build the world. Those type of meta goals are very important as well, because those are our core values. And those are the values that when we come to talk with other people, we want to share those values with them and show them that this is essentially what we stand for. We don't want to focus on the minutiae and the details. We want to focus on those core values, because when we build on the core values, all civilizations and all religious groups and all philosophical groups, when we come together based on those core values, pretty much you'll find that many of those core values are either the exact same or there's a great deal of overlap. And it's upon those core values that we can build not only bridges of understanding, but more importantly, we can actually do stuff together to help, different segments of society. And the last thing I want to share, it's a little bit of a technical thing. I kind of debated whether to share it or not, but I figured what the heck, I might as well share it. As we know, or I hope you know, most Arabic words come from a 3-letter root. In some cases, there's a 4-letter root, and in even rarer instances, there's 5-letter roots. But let's just go with the basic 3 letters. So if the vast majority of Arabic words go back to a root of 3 letters, one of the sciences and disciplines of understanding the Arabic language, it's called al-ishtiqaq al-kabir, or the greater conjugation, which is attributed to the great linguist Ibn al-Jinni. And he said, if you move those letters around, sometimes you'll get mumbo jumbo, you won't get anything. But if you move those letters around and you get another word, all the words that share the same letters of the root will have a combined meaning together. The reason I mention this, I know it's a little technical, but the reason it's important is when we come to difficult, quote unquote, difficult words, like the word of men striking women, for example, in the Quran, using the word daraba. Well, to really understand what that word means, you have to look at that word in the dictionary, in its usage. You have to look at that root, as I'm advocating here, the 3-letter roots that make up that word, and associated words, if any, what are the combined meanings. and you have to look at how that word is used elsewhere in the primary sources. Unfortunately, it's actually not that complicated to do this, but most people don't, and most people are, what they're really reacting to is they're reacting to a false automatic interpretation of these words, and oftentimes things are lost in translations, which is why I'm emphasizing the importance of the Arabic language in this instance. And no one really checks these things, so they sort of just proliferate, and then people inherit that this is a problematic verse. It's actually not problematic if you understand what it means, but to understand what it means, you need to understand its words and the core word. So this conjugation, or this greater conjugation of looking at associated meanings of the core root of each Arabic word. I mean, you don't have to do this for every single Arabic word. I mean, I guess you could, but it's more important in words in which there could be multiple layers of meanings or interpretations, and we might get lost in some of those, like the example I gave. It will be useful to go back to use this as a tool. Now, this series, before I end, I want to say is nowhere meant to be exhaustive. I do have some notes that I just sort of glance at from time to time. I tried to keep these videos short to make it light for people. I'm recording this during the month of Ramadan, so I wanted people to have a little bit of dose of the Quran, maybe while they break their fast or after they break their fast or whenever. This is not meant to be a thorough course on the Quran. To do that, we would have to create a course that is, that would do our revelation justice. So of course there are many things that I'm leaving out, and there are many things that I'm over summarizing and oversimplifying, and that's really the point of these videos. I hope you appreciate this series. I hope you find it useful, and I look forward to interacting with you in person and online. Take care and be well. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.